Hello again. Government ministers who belong to a visible minority have it easy in many ways, however useless or dishonest they are. And I'm afraid that black people and Asians in government are every bit as untruthful and hopeless at their jobs as white people. Nobody likes to say anything too harsh about them for fear of appearing racist. Priti Patel, for instance, was quite the worst Home Secretary I can ever remember, and yet she seemed to be given credit for, not being white, and so people let her get away with some flagrant lies and shocking deceptions. This tendency to go easy on people of colour in government is very noticeable with Kwasi Kwarteng, who is both a dreadfully inept Chancellor of the Exchequer and also strikes many people as being extremely peculiar in other ways. Take his conduct during the Queen's funeral, when he seemed to be sweating profusely, twitching, talking to himself and grinning at inappropriate moments. In the description to this video I give a link to Mumsnet, where middle class and right-on mothers hang out on the internet. One mother on the thread to which I give a link asks bluntly, "Is this man unhinged, on drugs, or just plain disrespectful?" A fair question indeed, although she does present these as being mutually exclusive alternatives, whereas I might myself incline to the view that perhaps a combination of more than one might be the correct answer. One person said that his behaviour reminded her of a 5-year-old with ADHD during school assembly. Somebody else suggested cocaine use. I have no idea if either of these suggestions is true, and I fervently hope that they are not. A Chancellor who doesn't know how to conduct himself in church during a funeral might still make a decent job of handling the economy, but one snorting coke or suffering from attention deficit disorder would be a bit of a liability in the Treasury. The trouble is, though, it's not just during church services. Anybody with a grain of common sense must surely have known that cutting the tax rate for people earning over £150,000 a year, while at the same time trying to cut benefits, was a terrible idea that would create unified opposition against the policy from everybody in the entire country. To suggest such a thing must mean that Kwarteng is A, completely out of touch with the real world, and B, must suffer from some syndrome which means that he doesn't care what anybody thinks about his behaviour. I don't know about ADHD. Something's not right with any man who could put forward such a bonkers idea. The thumbnail to this video shows the Chancellor at the Tory conference, and just as at the Queen's funeral he is sweating heavily and grinning inanely. He looks a bit demented, to be honest. I have a suspicion that Kwasi Kwarteng is either going to have a breakdown or perhaps go off his chump entirely or be forced to resign. There is something so odd about him that I honestly think that he needs help. The idea of this man running the British economy for even 5 minutes fills me with horror, and I hope that people are at work behind the scenes trying to remove him with as little fuss as possible. I think that there is something about the new Chancellor that we do not know, that there is some fatal flaw which makes him wholly unsuited for the job.